What is going on, everybody? So this is a video I definitely was not planning on making, but am very excited to make. This is really brought on by a huge debate that has come about in the football world this week relating to CJ Stroud and Jordan Love's performances from Wild Card Weekend and the outrage where we can see the box scores. Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, bizarrely identical statistics, yet people like JJ Watt and many Texans fans very upset with Pro Football Focus that they would sit there and tell you that Jordan Love had a 92 grade and CJ Stroud had an 88 grade when, look, we can see the stats, they played the same. Well, I wanted to make this video not to really criticize CJ Stroud. In fact, one thing a lot of people don't realize is that a 78 grade is a very good grade. Like, let's just get that out from the get-go here. It's not like, high school math class where a 78 is a C+. A C per PFF's grading scale is a 60. So a 78 grade is a very good performance from CJ Stroud. But I'm not making this video to turn this into a Love versus Stroud discussion or to be critical of CJ Stroud, who played excellent on Saturday against a really good Browns defense in his playoff debut. And I think this is a great opportunity with it being a playoff game, with the box scores looking as just bizarrely similar as they were with these two young, exciting quarterbacks. This is a good opportunity to kind of make this video and let it be the record of kind of not why it's a joke that PFF grades would tell you that this game is different. Actually, the opposite, where it's really cool that we have a company that can look at an identical box score and tell you how one player actually outperformed the other and be pretty close to accurate most of the time. And we're going to get into the weeds in this video here. We're going to actually take a look at every single dropback that both Love and Stroud had from their wild card games. But first, I do want to just kind of talk about how PFF arrives at these grades for people that maybe don't understand that. Despite what JJ Watt and some other people might tell you, it's not a matter of taking a bunch of stats, plugging it into a formula, and automatically spitting out grades. PFF is actually individually watching every single play, as we're going to do here in this video, using a negative 2.5 to 2.5 point grading scale for each individual play. And they have a 400-page rule book and dozens of analysts that have trained a 200-plus hour training process. And they have an archive of similar style plays that have received certain grades so that if they're not sure, they can cross-reference with what they've done in the past. It is a much more meticulous and expansive process than most people would ever care to admit. And then what I don't think a lot of people understand is that every player starts every game at a 60, and then they will go up or down on that based on the grades and the performance from that game. So when I saw people saying, oh, one turnover-worthy play shouldn't reduce CJ Stroud all the way down to a 77, that's just not how the process works. In reality, the turnover-worthy play is making it harder for him to get an elite grade, as opposed to, like, again, in school, you start at 100% and work down from there. That's not how their process works. And I'm going to try to replicate that process here. Now, I have not gone through the PFF grading training. I have charted games in other processes for PFF and spent a lot of time with a lot of people from the company. So I have a fairly strong grasp of how this system works. Now, my grades on these plays won't be identical to what PFF ended up giving for these players here, but I think we can get pretty damn close. And then when we're done, we'll see kind of how these grades spit out the way that they did for Love and Stroud. And I thought the easiest way to truly compare these guys' games would be to take kind of an eye for an eye approach with all of these individual plays and go through the 0 graded plays, the 0.5 graded plays, the 1 graded plays, and so on and so forth, show you the math as we go, and you can actually follow along how these grades come out. So we're going to start with those 0 graded plays, which are usually either complete gimmies, things like just easy screens, or plays where it's, they're kind of doing their job, but nothing special, or slight mistakes, but not really enough to give them a negative on the play either. And what's cool here is Love had 6 plays with a 0 grade, Stroud had 5, so we're kind of going eye for an eye here, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to sit here and break down and give you every reason why I gave every single play a certain grade. I do want to show them to you. Feel free to disagree with the grade I gave any of these individual plays. That's totally fair game, but we're trying to paint a more macro picture here as opposed to the extremely micro analysis of these plays. But what's really cool is we really can go eye for an eye with a lot of these plays, and you can see a lot of the similarities here, like this first play where both quarterbacks are missing more ideal reads, but still playing within structure and taking a chance to their first read. Or our second example here where they're under heavy pressure and trying to make something happen and not much comes of it. In Jordan Love's case, he tries to scramble into a step-up lane that he thought was there. The gap closed. CJ Stroud tries to throw a ball with anticipation. The ball wasn't there to be had, but both plays resulted in a penalty and a first down for these quarterbacks, ironically. Our third 0 plays for these quarterbacks are both busted screens that were not on the quarterback. Plays 4 and 5 that were 0 graded for each quarterback were just simple screens. One being one of CJ Stroud's touchdowns, which did come off a screen, by the way. Another, a simple dump off to the running back by each quarterback here. And then, as we mentioned, Jordan Love had 6 of these plays. Stroud had 5. This play by Jordan Love, I did give a 0. The pressure gets in quickly off the left side. I actually would consider giving him a positive half point here for trying to make something happen, but the throw is off the mark. It's kind of a safe throwaway here. Ultimately decided to go with a 0 graded play for Love. So those obviously just don't really have an impact outside of adding to the total sample size for the grading formula that PFF has. But let's get to the positive 0.5 graded plays where they are doing a good job playing within structure, but are relatively low difficulty plays on top of that. And for these, CJ Stroud actually had 7 0.5 graded plays. Jordan Love had 4. Many of these are similar, though. We have 2 throws to the flat by Stroud and Love. Now, it is worth noting that one of these just half-point graded throws was a 72-yard touchdown from Brevin Jordan, where, yeah, nice job by Stroud to float this thing out there, but this is Brevin Jordan doing all the work and really bad defense by Cleveland. That's 72 yards and a touchdown that are going to work in Stroud's favor on the box score, but he really didn't have to do a whole lot on this one, even if we're giving him a slight positive on the play. Something to keep in mind for the overall narrative here. Both have similar easy bootleg throws where they had to make kind of off-platform, awkward angle throws on short completions. They get a little bit of credit for that. Some of these are just good, well-timed, quick game execution, making quick reads of the leverage of the defense, getting that ball out, running the offense well. So those 3 plays, all very similar types of plays to grade. Then for Jordan Love, his 4th half-point graded play here, just a nice speed out, reading that pre-snap leverage, but a nice velocity throw to the outside. Gets a little credit for that one. Then CJ Stroud's got 4 more of these. I love this check down on this play. He's got Myles Garrett getting close there. Not an easy check down for him there. I went with a half. You could argue for a full point on that one if you really wanted to. A lot of checkdowns, though, are going to get 0 grades, but I thought the difficulty of the throw made it a half grading point on that one. Another half point for Stroud here where he's getting through his full field of progressions. First down against this Browns pass rush, just trying to stay ahead of the chains. Almost gets through his progressions too quickly as the DB on his first read falls over, but that's not on Stroud. He's getting through that just as you would coach that up. A bootleg from Stroud that was close to being a touchdown, was very well placed, I think, but, an example of a positively graded throw on an incompletion. Nothing crazy here, but I like the placement on the move there from Stroud. Could have been converted. And then nice execution on this quick read to screen from Stroud, where he's checking the routes, working those progressions, and then getting the ball to the flat there. So these are your half-graded throws, and with Stroud having 3 more of those, than Love. So far, Stroud has a +1.5 on Jordan Love, but now we're going to get into some of the higher end throws. These are going to be our 1 graded throws. These are going to be really solid rhythm throws for the most part. And again, Stroud actually had 4 of these to 3 for Jordan Love, but a lot of these are similar. First one here, we got both quarterbacks, hitting the top of their drop in rhythm, hitting, kind of tighter window slants. We got a couple of outbreakers, one being a hitch with good timing from Stroud, one being an out route from Jordan Love to his tight end on the outside. Nice 10-yard completion on 3rd down. And then likewise, we have a couple of these kind of like off your back foot floating passes that are not easy completions that take some arm talent and touch to get it out there. Now, one of these for Jordan Love is, it's a 40-yard completion, shows up real nice in the box score. This isn't a super highly graded play for Jordan Love. This is much more on the scheme, but he does have a hand in his face. He stays poised to go 360 on this and still get that ball about 35 yards out there with some touch. I think there were 3 highly schemed up plays from these quarterbacks, 2 for Stroud, the Brevin Jordan long touchdown, the screen touchdown that we saw earlier, and then this one for Jordan Love. Now, my opinion is that this one to Musgrave is of a higher difficulty and is more impressive than those 2 ones from CJ Stroud, but it is worth noting that Love had some big production that showed up in the box score too that wasn't necessarily incredible quarterbacking or anything. And then I also gave this drop back from Stroud a 1 grade, beating the blitz here on 3rd and short, just replacing it, find that slant right on the money. Always good to see a guy as a rookie recognizing and attacking the blitz like that. That's really impressive poised football by CJ Stroud. But then we get to our 1.5 graded plays where Stroud just didn't have any in this game. Jordan Love had 2. And these are another step up from those 1 graded throws where they're either even more impressive throws than maybe an out route or a slant, or a throw of that magnitude that the quarterback had to create a little bit, avoid pressure, move, throw off platform a little bit. And we'll see that with Jordan Love here on these 2 plays. The first one with the pressure getting in, you can see Love just kind of needs to navigate that drift to the right. Still kind of stays within the structure of his first read here. But good job to find Bo Melton sitting down there. Gets about an 8-yard completion on 1st down. Very nice play. And then this bootleg here off of play action. I thought this was a 1.5 graded throw. This is, booting across his body, about 15 yards down the field. A 3rd down completion on the money, mind you. Trailing defender, he has to lead the receiver, and he does. If that throw is an ounce behind, Stephon Gilmore gets his hand on that thing. So I went 1.5 on that one. And with Love having 2 of those 1.5s, Love has now taken a half-point lead in the grading scale here. Still more to come, though, because now we're getting towards those more like excellent or big-time throws, as PFF likes to call a lot of these. Let's start with our 2-point graded plays. And both quarterbacks actually had 3 2-point graded plays. And yet again, several of these are very similar. Both of these quarterbacks made some really special throws to complement really good scheming by their coordinators. On the left, you'll see Jordan Love about to get drilled in the face, floats off his back foot a good 30 yards to hit Romeo Doubs, who is wide open, but still a huge throw under pressure. And I think very fairly you give this the same grade as CJ Stroud and his 3rd touchdown, as we'll see here. Excellent scheming to attack the aggressiveness of this Browns defense by Bobby Slowick, but CJ Stroud has to hit this 40 yards, 45 yards, cross hash, hits him in stride. Beautiful throw. Isn't under pressure like Love is, but this one goes further and is more accurate. So I think these are very similar 2-point graded plays. A couple more 2s here are just really nice throws on time, on crossing routes, accurate, and then a little bit different on each of these quarterbacks. Number 3, 2.0 graded play. Jordan Love here down in the red zone. This is his last throw of the game. We're going play action boot to the right. The first angle doesn't look like too much, but I want you to see the second angle from Jordan Love here. off his back foot, fadeaway jumper, slides this thing in between 3 Cowboys defenders. That's a tight window, reactionary throw with incredible arm talent. I gave that one a 2.0. And then Stroud showing off his arm talent a little bit too. We're going to be kind of just drifting away from the pressure, casually sorts this thing out, and then hits Dalton Schultz, who drops it. And this is another area where PFF is extremely valuable. This one will not show up in the box score for CJ Stroud, as we didn't mention with that hitch route earlier either. But PFF will actually look at this and say, hey, that's a completion as far as we're concerned. CJ Stroud's going to get a plus 2.0 on that grade, or something similar from PFF. So we're actually very similar to this point before we get to the highest level graded throws of a 2.5. Jordan Love just a half tick above Stroud. But we are going to see 3 elite throws in this game from Jordan Love and 2 elite throws from CJ Stroud. And then there's another reason that difference shows up later in this game. And these ones usually speak for themselves, but I might as well give them justice for these quarterbacks. The first one from Jordan Love, buying time, hits a huge completion here over the middle of the field on 2nd and 12 early in the game. This was one of the first big gut punches to that Cowboys defense. And then a fairly similar one on 3rd down. And while you could actually probably say be critical of Jordan Love for kind of bailing out of a clean pocket and showing poor pocket presence early in this play, he totally redeems himself by feeling out the pressure, feeling out the pocket, and doing something that very few quarterbacks do, and resetting in that pocket. And if you look at the other angle, you can see why he bails out of here. The Cowboys are running a stunt, and he thinks that tight end Kraft is going to kind of get that angle on 55 right there. He doesn't, but reactionary adjustment, comes back inside and throws a just dagger again, literally a dagger route off, under pressure, floating away, showing off the arm talent. That is a big-time elite throw right there. And then the last one from Love, I think my favorite play of the game. First thing is, note the pre-snap checks. Dallas had showed blitz. Love made checks. He gets Dallas to kind of step back a little bit, and then knowing exactly where he needs to go with the football for one. But on top of that, this throw, under pressure, fadeaway jumper, and you literally cannot throw that any better. That's good coverage by Stephon Gilmore, but you can't defend the perfect pass. You can't really argue with that one being a elite plus 2.5 throw. Then you got Stroud, who again had 2 of these types of throws. First one is my favorite of the day from CJ Stroud, where this is a full field progression. He reads the right side against the blitz, checks back to the left, about to get hit. The flick of the wrist gets that ball out there 30 yards down the field, gets it to him. I mean, having to speed up his release like that and finding that second read deep down the field. Yeah, he's open. Yeah, it's underthrown a little bit or misses a little bit, but you don't knock him for that when he's getting drilled and has to speed up his release. That's a huge throw from Stroud. And then Stroud's other one is super impressive. The reactionary ability to find this hole in the zone, the pressure again, caving down. This is where Stroud has blown me away this year, is being able to read and react against pressure like this. But it's not just the read. It's not just that he's under pressure, but this is a throw kind of off platform, jump shot in it, kind of like we've seen Jordan Love off platform in this game too. These quarterbacks definitely have some similarities, but the accuracy on this sucker is wild. To hit that kind of into the hole shot on the move is an elite throw. So just looking at their 0 graded up to the best grade you can get, 2.5 graded throws, Jordan Love is going to sit with a marginal lead over CJ Stroud, having had one more elite throw than Stroud, had a couple of those 1.5 graded throws, and you add up all the points, and he's +3 on CJ Stroud. It's marginal, but just before we get into where I think a lot of you know where this is going with the turnover-worthy play that CJ Stroud had, you're already saying Jordan Love played a little bit better than CJ Stroud, just grading these throw in, throw out. Now, the other side of this thing are those negative graded plays, and Jordan Love had one that got a negative 0.5. For me, CJ Stroud also had one that got a negative 0.5. Let's take a look at those. Jordan Love's is a inaccurate throw on a slant that should have been had. And then another one by CJ Stroud that I do speculate that PFF may have given this more than a negative 0.5, but I actually agree with a lot of the feedback from some people that Nico Collins does slow up a little bit on this overthrow from CJ Stroud, looking for the ball right as he runs past the defender. I still think Stroud overcooks this. Deep balls are always extremely subjective, so I will admit this is a tough one to break down. I do think this is still an overthrow from CJ Stroud. I don't think Nico Collins stops that much, and he really does lead this one out there. So I gave him a slight ding on this one of negative 0.5. Again, I think PFF may have gone a little bit harsher on Stroud for this one. I guess there's no way to truly know that unless you have a PFF Ultimate account. But that could explain a little bit of the gap in public perception if I'm right that PFF maybe gave this more of like a -1 or a -1.5. I don't know. But the big one here from Stroud is this turnover-worthy play. And people hate to hear this word, but this is one of my most favorite things that PFF does, and it is an example that they are watching the film. And CJ Stroud got away with this one early in the game. Not saying they would have lost, not saying Stroud didn't respond from this and play basically perfect after this, but this counts for something. It counts for a lot, actually. This is a negative 2.5 grade here as he's forcing this thing. Not only does the underneath defender have excellent leverage, but he just doesn't see that safety who, if Denzel Ward, number 21, doesn't make a break on this ball, that is a likely interception. So turnover-worthy plays are always something that riles up a lot of fans. I watch the film here and say, yes, CJ Stroud should be dinged fairly significantly for this play. We saw 2 pick sixes from the Texans defense in this game. Very well could have been a pick 6 for the Browns that could have changed the landscape of this game. Turnovers are a huge part of the picture. So one massive negative play from CJ Stroud that did not show up on Jordan Love's film. So you apply the negative half point for the 2 inaccurate throws. You apply the negative 2.5 to CJ Stroud from the turnover-worthy play. You apply those to all of their positive graded plays, and you end up with a final conglomerate, pre-grade score, if you will, of 15.5 for CJ Stroud to 21 for Jordan Love. And this is where I wish I knew the exact formula for how they take that number and then spit out the 92 for Jordan Love, the 78 for CJ Stroud. I know that sample size plays a role in that because sometimes you'll see guys that play 3 snaps and end up with 98 grades on the day. That obviously would not be possible if this was just a matter of adding or subtracting 2 points to that baseline of a 60 grade, which again is like the average sort of C grade that people could get. But you can see the splits there. 21 for Jordan Love, 15.5 for CJ Stroud. It's a little bit of a bell curve there. I think we're pretty damn close to what PFF would have had to have Love closer to a 90, CJ Stroud closer to an 80. And if you have sat through this, I think you can agree that CJ Stroud's raw box score numbers looked a little bit better on paper than he probably had in the game. He had about 100 yards and 2 touchdowns that came off of screens and a little dump down. He had what could have been a costly interception, whereas Jordan Love, some small gains on screens and stuff, had the big touchdown, of course, to Luke Musgrave. Most quarterbacks, when they have big stat lines like this, are going to have some gimmies, but I think it's very fair to say that CJ Stroud got a little bit more in terms of the rack and the touchdowns coming on those plays than Jordan Love. Not to mention Love had just a couple more impressive plays and avoided that big mistake, and that is really how you arrive at the difference there. And that wraps up the kind of film breakdown here. If nothing else, this was just a ton of fun to watch these guys who made some incredible plays to help their teams win a playoff game. But I really hope that this was an educational video for a lot of people, whether it was the film breakdowns or how the grading scale works or how PFF operates. It's a overall system that I'm very familiar with. I was happy to kind of share my perspective on it, and I hope that this eases some of the nasty Twitter back and forth that we see out there. I know it won't appease all of it because many of those people aren't going to take the time to watch a video like this, but glad we made it. I hope you enjoyed. Please do hit that like button if you did. We're going to have my first mock draft for the 2024 NFL Draft here very soon as well, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Join me on this quest for 100,000K by draft day is my goal. That's all I got. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Peace out.